Okay, so, we asked for some deep dives into interesting markets, and wow, did you guys deliver.
Yeah, you weren't kidding.
A whole report from Cognitive Market Research all about bolometers.
Yeah.
So that's our mission today, to take this research, really pull out those must-know insights about this market, and the company is kind of leading the charge,
Definitely a market that's already pretty big. I mean,
Yeah.
we're looking at over $500 million this year and projected to almost double by 2032.
Wow.
So that 8% annual growth that the report highlights, I mean, that really shows how much it's expanding.
Yeah, no, that's massive. And I think it's interesting because, you hear the word bolometer,
Right?
and it sounds like something out of Star Trek or
Yeah, a
something.
little bit sci-fi.
But really, it's a pretty simple idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically like a super sensitive thermometer
Yeah.
that can pick up the tiniest changes in temperature
Yeah,
from radiation.
exactly.
So, imagine like feeling the heat from a light bulb
Mm-hmm.
across a giant room,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
with incredible precision.
And that's what makes them so good for infrared detection.
Yeah.
Being able to sense those tiny temperature changes from emitted or absorbed radiation. I mean, that sounds niche,
Yeah.
but it actually has so many uses.
Right.
Think about thermal imaging,
Mm-hmm.
like being able to see heat signatures, which is huge for security,
Obviously, yeah.
or even finding insulation leaks in your house.
Right, right.
Then there's spectroscopy, where you're analyzing how materials interact with light, and even astronomy,
Oh, wow.
helping us see, distant stars and galaxies.
That's amazing. So, I mean, obviously there's a reason that this market is growing so fast.
Yeah.
So what are the big drivers here? What's making the demand for these bolometers just kind of explode?
Well, the article points to a few key things happening at the same time. So
That's
first
what-
of all, global defense spending is going up.
Right.
And bolometers are really important for things like night vision surveillance
Mhm.
and, precision targeting. Second, the technology itself is getting better and more accessible,
All right.
especially with advancements in uncooled infrared sensors.
And what's that?
So these are much more versatile.
Okay.
They don't need those complicated cooling systems that older tech needed,
Oh, I see.
so they're easier to put into more devices.
Makes sense.
And then finally, we're seeing a lot more applications in industry,
Yeah.
like using them to monitor machinery to prevent overheating and breakdowns.
Oh, that's interesting.
And they're also being used in tons of scientific research projects.
So really, it's like all these factors coming together at once
Yeah, it really is.
to kind of create this perfect storm for this market.
Exactly.
Now, the research we got goes pretty deep into who the big blowers are.
Mm-hmm.
So who are we talking about here? Who are the companies really dominating the bolometer world?
So according to Cognitive Market Research, the top 5 right now,
Okay.
in terms of market share, are FLIR Systems, Inc.,
Okay.
Teledyne Technologies, Incorporated,
Uh-huh.
Raytheon Technologies Corporation, Linrid,
Mm.
and Northrop Grumman Corporation.
Got it. So those are the names to know.
Yeah, they're the ones leading the pack.
Cool. So let's go through them one by one, starting with FLIR Systems.
Oh,
They seem to have
Wow.
the biggest piece of the pie right now.
right. FLIR has about 15% of the market.
Wow.
They're known for their thermal imaging systems.
Mm-hmm.
They cater to a huge range of customers, from the military and law enforcement to industrial monitoring and even scientific research.
Yeah.
Their bolometer technology is well established,
Fine.
known for being really reliable and accurate.
And it sounds like they're not just sitting back and relaxing.
Definitely not.
The article mentioned something big they did in 2023.
Oh, yeah. They unveiled their next generation of uncooled infrared detectors.
Okay.
And the really cool thing is they
Mhm.
managed to improve both the sensitivity, meaning they can detect even fainter heat signatures,
Oh.
and reduce the noise in the image so you get much clearer thermal vision.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, this is really important for things like drone-based surveillance
Uh-huh.
or handheld thermal cameras that first responders use, where you
Oh.
really need clarity and detail.
Okay, so they're innovating on the tech side.
Mhm.
And are they doing anything strategically to stay on top?
Yeah, they've been really active in forming partnerships with defense and security agencies all over the world,
Oh, I see.
which really solidifies their market position.
So smart. So number 2 on the list is Teledyne Technologies.
Right.
And they're not far behind FLIR in terms of market share.
No, they're right there with about 13%.
Okay.
And they've really built their name by pushing the boundaries of infrared imaging technology.
Interesting.
They often use advanced microbolometer arrays in their bolometers.
And what are those exactly?
So basically imagine a grid of tiny thermal sensors.
Okay.
It allows for much higher resolution images.
Oh, I see.
It's kind of like how more megapixels in a digital camera give you more detail.
Right, right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what kinds of things is Teledyne's technology used for?
Oh, it's used in all sorts of fields.
Okay.
Aerospace, for example. They use it in satellite imaging,
Wow.
also industrial automation for quality control,
Okay.
and even environmental monitoring to track things like gas leaks.
That's impressive. So what's something big they've been working on lately?
Well, in 2023, they announced a major breakthrough with ultra-low noise bolometers.
Mhm.
And this is a big deal because lower noise means the sensors can pick up even the faintest signals
Uh-huh.
without any interference.
So it's like cutting out the static.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
this opens up all sorts of possibilities for things like more precise medical diagnostics
Right.
or really sensitive scientific measurements.
That's amazing. Are they doing anything else strategically?
Yeah, they've actually been on a bit of an acquisition spree,
Oh, wow.
buying up other companies to gain more expertise and expand their market reach.
That's a bold move.
Yeah, there was a notable acquisition in the infrared imaging sector.
Hmm.
And what's interesting is they're also really focusing on making their sensors more energy efficient,
Makes sense.
which is super important for portable devices and anything that runs on batteries.
Right. So they're thinking ahead.
Absolutely.
All right. Next, we have Raytheon Technologies,
Right.
who have a solid 10% market share, according to the research.
Yeah. Raytheon is really strong because of their long history in the defense and aerospace industries.
Okay.
Their bolometers are used in all sorts of military applications.
Uh-huh.
Everything from target acquisition systems for soldiers
Wow.
to guidance systems in missiles.
Really? So their focus is really on defense.
Yeah, it's all about giving defense forces that critical real-time thermal intelligence,
Right.
and often in really tough environments.
So what have they been up to in the last year or so?
Well, they just came out with a new generation of bolometers
Okay.
that are both more sensitive to heat
Uh-huh.
and have much faster response times.
Oh, wow. So they can pick up on things more quickly?
Exactly. Imagine needing to identify a heat signature in a situation that's changing really fast.
Right.
That faster response can be the difference maker.
Yeah, that's crucial. And what about strategically? Are they making any big moves?
They're also really focusing on miniaturization,
Okay.
making these high-performance sensors smaller without sacrificing any capabilities.
That's a tough challenge.
Yeah, it is.
Anything else?
Yeah, strategic alliances are a big part of their strategy.
Okay.
Working closely with government agencies and major defense contractors.
So basically playing to their strengths.
Definitely.
All right, let's move on to Linred, who hold about 8% of the market.
Okay, so Linred is a European company.
Mm-hmm.
They specialize in high-performance infrared detectors.
Okay.
But they're interesting because they serve a really wide range of sectors.
Oh, like what?
Not just defense and aerospace,
Hey.
but also the automotive market, which is growing like crazy.
Right.
You know, thermal cameras for self-driving cars,
Yep.
and then all sorts of industrial applications too.
So they're a bit more diversified.
Yeah, you could say that.
So what sets their bolometers apart?
They're known for being really robust and reliable,
Okay.
even in tough operating conditions.
And what were some of their key initiatives in 2023?
Well, they launched a new line of bolometers
Okay.
that are super compact and energy efficient,
Oh, interesting.
designed specifically for things like autonomous vehicles and smart surveillance systems.
So they're really targeting those growing markets.
Yeah, they are.
And I imagine energy efficiency is really important for those applications.
Right, especially for battery-powered devices.
Makes sense. What else do they do strategically?
They're investing a lot in expanding their production capacity
Oh, wow.
to keep up with the growing global demand.
So they're thinking ahead.
They're also big on collaboration.
Okay.
They've formed a lot of partnerships with other major players in the defense and aerospace sectors.
So kind of like Raytheon in a way.
Yeah, there are some similarities there.
All right. And finally, in our top 5, we have Northrop Grumman with about 6% of the market share.
Right. Northrop Grumman is another big player deeply rooted in defense and aerospace.
Mm-hmm.
Like Raytheon, their bolometers are essential for a bunch of critical applications. Things
Wow.
like advanced surveillance systems,
No.
missile defense programs,
Wow.
and even space exploration.
That's amazing. So they're playing in some pretty high stakes arenas.
Yeah, for sure.
So what's their specialty? What makes their bolometers stand out?
It's really about providing high-resolution, real-time thermal data
Okay.
for really demanding, often mission-critical scenarios.
And what was their big highlight in 2023?
They introduced a next-generation bolometer sensor
Okay.
built to handle extreme environmental
Like
conditions.
what kind of conditions?
I'm talking about the temperature extremes of space
Oh, wow.
or the vibrations and shocks you experience in military vehicles.
So they're going for durability.
Definitely. And they're also exploring new applications for their tech,
Okay, like what?
especially in space-based thermal imaging, things like monitoring climate change or studying distant planets.
That's fascinating. So strategically, are they following a similar path to the other defense companies?
Yeah, strategic partnerships are key for them too,
Okay.
working with both government agencies and private aerospace companies.
Right. So it's all about those alliances.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so we've covered the big players, the established giants,
Mhm.
but the research also talks about some up-and-comers.
It does.
They could really shake things up.
Yeah, these are the ones to watch.
So who are these potential disruptors?
The article points to Hamamatsu Photonics, KK,
Okay.
Vigo System SA,
Uh-huh.
Vigo System SA,
Okay.
Sensel Technologies Ltd,
Mm-hmm.
and Amatec Inc.
So each of these companies kind of has its own strengths and focus areas.
Exactly. They're all coming at the market from slightly different angles.
Okay, so let's go through them one by one, starting with Hamamatsu Photonics.
Okay, so Hamamatsu Photonics is based in Japan. They're known for their advanced photonics technologies.
All right.
And they've been making big strides in infrared detection,
Mm-hmm.
especially for industrial and scientific applications.
So they're not really focused on the defense side of things.
Not so much.
So what makes them stand out?
They're known for developing very high-performance thermal detection solutions.
Oh?
And they're strategically expanding their production in Asia,
Oh, interesting.
which could give them a big cost advantage in that rapidly growing market.
Smart thinking. So what about Vigo System SA?
So Vigo System is headquartered in Poland.
Okay.
They specialize in uncooled infrared detectors
Mm-hmm.
that are finding their way into military, medical, and industrial applications.
So they're kind of a mix of everything.
Yeah, they are.
So what's their key strength?
Their real strength is in their advanced sensor technology,
Like-
which is geared towards really high-precision measurements.
And are they doing anything strategically to expand?
Yeah, they're actively pursuing partnerships and expanding their market presence in Europe and North America.
So kind of a global approach.
Exactly.
All right. What about NIT Technologies, Inc.?
So they're really focused on developing bolometer sensors
Okay.
that offer both enhanced sensitivity and cost effectiveness.
So it's about hitting that sweet spot.
Exactly. And their innovations in microbolometer array design
Okay.
are letting them tap into the growing demand for things like security systems,
Mhm.
automotive safety features,
Yeah.
and industrial automation.
So areas where both performance and price are really important.
Exactly.
Okay, next up we have Sensel Technologies Ltd.
Okay, so Sensel is a specialist in silicon photomultipliers.
Okay.
And they're also getting into the infrared detection game.
So they're kind of branching out.
Yeah, you could say that.
What are they working on?
They're developing high-speed, low-noise infrared sensors
Okay.
that have potential in things like advanced medical diagnostics, industrial safety systems,
Okay.
and energy management.
Wow, that's a wide range.
Yeah, they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
So what's their strategy?
They have a really strong focus on R&D,
Okay.
and they're good at integrating their sensors with other new technologies.
Oh, so they're kind of like the agile innovator.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And finally, we have Ametec Inc.
Right, so Amatec is a US-based company.
Uh-huh.
They're known for their high-precision thermal sensors
Okay.
and infrared thermography solutions.
So kind of similar to FLIR in a way.
Yeah, there's some overlap there.
So what industries are they targeting?
They're going after a pretty broad range. Things like aerospace, automotive manufacturing, and scientific research.
So they're not limiting themselves?
Nope.
And what about their growth strategy?
A big part of it is strategic acquisitions,
Okay.
buying up other companies to expand their tech portfolio and gain access to new markets.
So kind of like Teledyne in that respect?
Yeah, similar approach.
So it seems like all these up-and-coming companies are really trying to find their own niche.
Yeah, they're all leveraging their unique strengths,
Yeah.
whether it's innovation, regional advantages, or cost-effective solutions,
All right.
to try and take on those established leaders.
So based on the article, what does it really take for a new player to break through in this market?
Well, the article highlights a few crucial things.
Okay.
First and foremost, you have to develop advanced bolometers that are also cost-effective.
No, that makes sense.
It's about constantly pushing the boundaries of sensitivity,
Uh-huh.
being able to detect even smaller temperature differences,
Right.
making the sensors smaller and lighter,
Uh-huh.
and improving their energy efficiency,
Okay.
all while keeping manufacturing costs down.
So it's a balancing act.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Because you can have the best tech in the world.
Right.
But if it's too expensive,
Huh?
no one's going to buy it.
Exactly.
So what other success factors did the article mention?
Well, advancements in specific technologies are really important.
Okay.
Things like further developments in microbolometer arrays
Mm-hmm.
to get even higher resolution images,
Okay.
using nanomaterials to improve sensitivity, and applying MEMS-based detection mechanisms,
Yeah.
microelectromechanical systems.
Got it. So basically finding new and better ways to build these sensors.
Exactly.
What else?
Well, having efficient and reliable sources of raw materials is crucial,
Okay.
and also adopting sustainable production practices.
Right. So it's not just about the tech itself.
No, it's about the whole process.
And that makes sense because more and more customers are looking for companies that are environmentally responsible.
Absolutely.
The article also talked about the importance of geography.
It did.
So where are the best places for these companies to focus their efforts?
Emerging markets are really key,
Okay.
especially the Asia-Pacific region.
Now, why is that?
Well, they're experiencing huge growth in industrial automation,
Oh.
defense spending,
Right.
and consumer electronics.
So it's like a perfect storm of opportunity.
Yeah, it really is.
And the article also mentioned strategic partnerships.
Yeah.
So why are those so important?
Well, forming partnerships with local players in these regions
Okay.
is essential for navigating the market,
Right.
building your brand recognition,
Uh-huh.
and getting access to established distribution channels.
So it's about leveraging those existing networks.
Exactly.
So we've talked about what it takes to succeed right now, but what about the future?
Yeah.
What are some of the longer-term trends that these companies should be thinking about?
Well, their article points to the continued growth of autonomous systems,
Yeah.
the increasing use of AI-powered analytics,
Mm-hmm.
and the explosion of smart sensing applications.
So basically the world is becoming more automated, more intelligent.
Exactly. And this creates a huge demand for specialized bolometers
Oh, interesting.
tailored for specific applications.
Like what?
Things like real-time thermal imaging and self-driving cars,
Okay.
so they can navigate safely in any conditions.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
Also, improving industrial safety monitoring
Uh-huh.
by detecting potential hazards.
And creating smarter, more energy-efficient buildings.
So it's like bolometers are going to be everywhere.
Pretty much.
And it sounds like a one-size-fits-all approach isn't going to cut it.
Definitely not.
Companies are going to have to be more specialized.
Right. Being able to customize your bolometer solutions
Okay.
to meet the specific needs of different clients.
So like a bespoke bolometer.
Yeah, exactly.
For each application.
Exactly. Whether it's ultra-fast response times for a specific industrial process
Uh-huh.
or exceptional durability for really harsh environments,
Right.
that kind of customization is going to be a huge differentiator.
Makes sense. So to wrap things up, what's the big takeaway here?
Well, the bolometer market is booming.
Okay.
It's growing really fast,
Mm-hmm.
driven by all sorts of applications and constant innovation.
Right.
But the competitive landscape is changing too.
Okay.
The big players are still there,
Mm-hmm.
but they're facing more and more pressure from these new companies
Yes.
who are coming up with creative solutions.
And finding new ways to solve problems.
So to succeed in this market, you have to be both innovative and adaptable.
Exactly. It's about striking a balance
Okay.
between pushing the limits of technology,
Mm-hmm.
staying competitive on price,
Right.
and positioning yourself to take advantage of new opportunities.
So for anyone listening who's interested in this market,
Mm-hmm.
the bolometer market is definitely one to watch.
Yeah, it's not a boring industry.
No, not at all. It's dynamic, it's competitive,
Exactly.
and the big players are being challenged in really interesting ways.
And it makes you think about how these tiny but powerful sensors
Yeah.
are going to become even more integrated into our lives. Think about it.
Okay.
Keeping self-driving cars safe on foggy roads,
Yeah.
or even leading to more personalized healthcare through advanced diagnostics.
Wow.
It's amazing to think that this technology could have such a huge impact.
Yeah, it really is.
It's something we'll definitely be keeping an eye on.
Absolutely. Me too. Thanks for breaking it all down.
You're welcome.
That was really interesting.
Glad you enjoyed it.
To everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of bolometers.
Mm-hmm.
And be sure to check back for more exciting deep dives into the latest tech and trends.
We'll see you next time.
Until then, take care.
Bye.